Hi everyone, welcome back to Gdaynamaste. Amanda here. Today's video is going to be one of my information videos. My mum arrived last week. You probably saw my video. If you haven't, I'll link it up top so you can watch it. And I know a lot of people were probably hoping for an update of what we've been doing while mum is here for this video, but we've just been doing like a lot of things locally and I haven't really been using my phone too much because I've been trying to enjoy the moment. So this weekend we are actually going to Manali, so next week you'll be able to see more of those updates then. But for today, I'm going to talk about how I adapted or adjusted to moving to India long-term / permanently. So let's get started. So the first on my list is actually having a routine. For me, I'm someone that thrives off having routine and structure. My husband and I are completely different when it comes to this. I did talk about this a little bit in my very first video. You know, in Australia, I went to bed at the same time every night. I woke up at the same time. I worked the same times mostly. I went to the gym after work. Everything was very planned. And when I moved here, I really struggled. I really struggled with not having a routine, not having some kind of schedule. You know, again, my husband, which I've said a few times now, he's not very punctual when it comes to time management. And I'm the complete opposite. We're literally two polar opposites when it comes to this. And you know, when I first moved here, I would say to him, like, we had no idea. I had no idea like what my plans for the day would be. We would wake up and I'd say, what time are we going to the gym today? And if he told me 11 o'clock, I would be ready at 11 o'clock. He would just be like having his coffee, getting ready, and then I'd start to feel anxious. And like, I would start to get really like overwhelmed actually. And he'd say like, what's wrong? Like, what if we're not going to the gym at 11 when I said, we have nowhere to be, no one to meet afterwards, what's the problem? I said, it's the principle. You told me 11, I'm ready at 11. And I didn't really know how to explain it to him. It's just, you know, how I had grown up my whole life was to be on time. And, you know, for me personally, when someone is not on time, it's considered quite rude that they don't value someone else's time, that they don't respect someone else's time because they're always late, where it's very common here in India to not be on time. So not having a routine plus, you know, lack of time management, it really affected me. That's probably the thing I struggled with the most. So creating a routine has really helped me sort of feel like I have control over my days, because it is something I can control. My psychiatrist, one of the first things she said when I started seeing her was that I needed to create a routine or some kind of schedule for the day, something that would give me a sense of control and help me just to go through my days. So before I started taking Hindi classes, I was actually self-teaching through a kind of guided book. And so I would schedule my days around like learning Hindi, reading during the day. I would plan like different things for like gym, exercise, and I learnt to really adapt to my husband's lack of time management. Sometimes it still bothers me now, but I'm much more relaxed than when I first moved here. When we got Romy, our Labrador, that gave me a routine because I had to wake up at the same time, feed him at the same time, go to bed at the same time, and that kind of gave me a routine. Not saying everyone should go out and get a dog. Well, you can because they're great companions, but it really helped me just to create that routine. And then eventually, yes, when I started seeing the psychiatrist, then she had said to me, you need to have a more structure in your days. And then when I started my Hindi classes in January last year, 2021, that again gave me a lot more structure as well. So now I wake up at the same time, I have my Hindi classes, I do my self-care before my Hindi classes, and that's something that has come with doing the life coaching as well. So some of the tips tips and suggestions from my life coach Pranjali was to wake up earlier, do my morning meditation, my gratitude journaling, that sort of thing, to get me started for the day. That was a lot. So yeah, that's number one, having a routine. Number two, on ways that I adapted or adjusted to life as an expat in India or foreigner in India, is finding my purpose. So this is something that I've probably been working on subconsciously, probably when I got diagnosed with BPD, which is almost 2 years ago, but I've really made more of an effort since I started my life coaching, so end of last year. Because yeah, one of the main kind of reasons why I decided to do life coaching, as well as my psychologist appointments, was that I was feeling a bit lost with what my purpose was, what I wanted to do with my life. And that this is how YouTube actually came about, was from trying to find my purpose. And I really enjoy helping people in whatever capacity. All of my work experience in the past has been customer service, different like industries, hotels, food and beverage, call center, insurance, but they were all customer service roles. So I knew that I wanted to do something that provided value and also was providing that was helping people. So when I was first diagnosed with BPD, I really did a lot of soul searching. It was also in the middle of the first wave of COVID as well. So I used that time to try and really find out who I was. What was my purpose? What were my values in life? What are my goals? I'd never really set goals before, even just short-term or long-term goals. So I was really using that time after being diagnosed to try and find out who I was, because one of the traits of BPD is having a lack of, I guess, identity or sense of self, and that's something I really struggled a lot with. So once I started to figure out who I was or who I am as a person, I was able to then build these kind of self-care rituals or kind of activities into my routine. And even like Sunil jokes now about how, I'm always doing all these little things in the day, and it actually takes up a lot of my time during the day doing all of these activities, but it really helps me, and it has, it's actually kind of saved my life, because that was a really, really hard time for me when I got diagnosed, and I will eventually do a video about it anyway, but it was really difficult. It was a really tough time being away from my family, being diagnosed with a mental illness or a mental health disorder, COVID, pandemic, a lot of things going on. And then I wasn't working, I'd moved to a new country, I didn't have a routine, and all of a sudden I was like, what am I doing in my life? Like, I didn't come to India to just, be an Indian man's wife kind of thing. I want to be able to do something more with my life. I want to be able to do something extra with my time here or my life here, and kind of create something different, exciting, or a life that, that is enjoyable. So this is still a work in progress, trying to find my purpose and fulfill that purpose. And, Sunil and I have a lot of really exciting things on the horizons coming up, and even like my own personal and self-development. I have a lot of exciting things coming up with my YouTube channel and everything. So it is definitely a work in progress, but I'm a much happier and much better person since I started that road to self-discovery. Okay, so number 3 in my list of ways I adapted or adjusted to life in India was actually learning a local language. So for me, I chose Hindi. I chose that for a few reasons. I live in North India. One of the most commonly spoken languages in India is Hindi. Also, my in-laws don't speak English. They are originally from Manali and Uttarakhand, so mountain areas, and they moved to Chandigarh after marriage. And they couldn't even speak Hindi when they moved here. My mother-in-law told me that she spent 5 years learning to speak Hindi just from talking to, shopkeepers, fruit and vegetable sellers, neighbors, everything. And so now they speak Hindi, but they don't speak English. Also, I did mention in my first video that I really struggled with the having to rely on Sunil to be my personal translator. I really didn't like it. I didn't like not having that sense of independence. So yeah, learning the language has really helped a lot. You know, to the point that my mum and my mother-in-law were talking a few nights ago. So my in-laws came over for dinner, and I was the one translating between the two of them. And it was actually so funny and very hard as well. It's very hard being a translator in the middle. So I need to like not put so much pressure on Sunil now as to like why he's not translating things like this, because it's actually very difficult. But yeah, it was just an incredible experience to be sitting there and explaining to my mum, like, this is what my mother-in-law's saying, and to my mother-in-law, this is what my mum's saying. And so I'm going to do a series on how I have learned, or how I'm learning Hindi. But I just wanted to mention, yeah, that number 3 on the list is definitely learning the language, because it has just opened up a whole new sense of independence. I can communicate to shopkeepers, I can talk to the courier company, I can call companies if I want to talk about something, I can talk to cab drivers, I can talk to our house help, I can talk to my in-laws. And to have this ability, I just can't even explain it unless you like speak or are learning a second language or third language or whatever. It is really cool. And yeah, so it has definitely been a huge factor for me in adapting and adjusting. English is commonly spoken here, and I could potentially get away with just just speaking English and not learning Hindi or a local language. I live in Punjab, so Punjabi is also a common language in the area. But again, I chose Hindi because of my in-laws. But yeah, I could potentially just get by on English, but I feel like that's very naive of me to just assume that everyone can speak English and to not even make an effort to learn Hindi when I am planning on staying here long term. I don't think it's very fair, and I think it's actually kind of rude, personally, to just have the expectation that everyone can speak English and everyone needs to speak English to me. It gives me a bit of colonizer vibes. So yeah, that's number 3. Number 4 on my list is making friends. So I actually had a panic attack after 2 months of being here because of all of the things I mentioned above that have helped me. I had no routine. I couldn't speak the local language, so I was feeling left out. I was feeling lonely because I was missing my friends and family. I had a very social job before. I worked with a lot of really amazing people, and you know, I was going to work and socializing every day at my job, and then I went from that to basically nothing, just having my husband at home. And you know, when he went to work or he was outside doing his things, I did feel really lonely, especially in the evenings when all of my family and friends in Australia were sleeping. Then I felt extra lonely. So I had a panic attack after 2 months because of all of these things, and I laugh now, but at the time it was really scary and it was just really sad. And Sunil had said to me, like, what's wrong? And I had said, like, everything. Oh, I can't speak the language, I feel lonely, I feel left out, I don't have any friends. And he's like, Amanda, it's been 2 months, these things will take time. And I laugh now because yeah, it really was only just 2 months. In hindsight, I know that it would take longer than that to really settle in, but I'm someone that wants things done very quickly. And this is a process that is not done quickly. So after that, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she suggested that why don't you get a dog, because they're great companions. So that's when we got Romy. I had said to Sunil, I think we should get a dog, and he'd been wanting a dog for ages, and I was the one saying, let's wait a little bit. So then that night we had Romy, so it took a day. And then I was talking to my mum, and she's like, how about you look online or on Facebook for different expat groups? You might find someone in your city. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea actually. So then, yeah, I found this Expats in India Facebook group, and through that I had met some people who actually live in Chandigarh, and from that I found another Facebook group for people who have, like, I guess, Indian or Southeast Asian partners, so husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends, that sort of thing. So whether it's like Indian, Bangladeshi, Nepali, Sri Lankan, that sort of Southeast Asia region. And through that group, I actually found a lot of other people who live in India, not necessarily in Chandigarh, but they live in India and also who have like Indian partners. And you know, some of those people are now like my closest friends. And that really helps, having people who are in similar situations or similar either relationships, marriages, or living styles as you, or living arrangements, because sometimes you do need to vent. You need to vent about life in India. Can be very, very hard and very difficult and very frustrating, and you need to be able to vent in a way where, I guess, your partner doesn't feel like you're putting crap on their country. And I know at the beginning I was very negative, and I used to be like, oh, this is so ridiculous here, it's not like this in Australia, like all this kind of stuff. And I didn't realize the impact it was having on Sunil, because I was very negative. And it wasn't until my family actually came to visit, and like my family had started saying like little comments like that unintentionally, and then I was thinking, oh, like this is my home now, and that doesn't feel very good when they make those kind of comments. And then it's like a light bulb went off, and I thought, wow, this is how Sunil felt. So after that, I really tried to change my attitude and not be so negative. It's been almost 3 years. It's 3 years next month, and I still do have my negative moments, but I'm definitely not as vocal about it to Sunil. I kind of vent to my friends who are also in similar situations, or I just laugh about it now. I'm at the point where I can laugh, and I say things like Hindustani ki cheeze, which means things of India, or zindagi hai. It, like, this is life, or it's life. So now I can laugh about it. But yeah, it's really, really good to have other expat friends who can understand your experiences and understand where you're coming from. But also I made some really, really beautiful local friends too. So I really had to get out of my comfort zone to make friends. I remember after I came to India for a vacation in 2018 at the end, when I stayed here for a month, December, early January. When I went back to Australia, I decided, I was planning ahead. I was like, yes, I'm going to like absolutely kill it at like moving to India. So I was like, I'm going to start looking for friends now. And so I went onto Instagram and I was looking at the Chandigarh geolocation, and I was looking at people's profiles to try and like find females that live in my city, well, that live in Chandigarh, who have similar interests as me. And yeah, I ended up finding one girl, and eventually I think I had replied to one of her like question answer things, and she'd shared what I wrote and tagged me. So then I know this because I actually went back and checked my messages a few weeks ago. So then I had messaged her and I had said like, I'm actually moving to India. And I was just saying how I'm really in so much awe of her, because she is really into fitness and she has a very like 0 F's given attitude, from what I saw on her page, and like she really inspired me. And I was thinking to myself, I want to be friends with this girl. So yeah, I said I was moving to India, and she's like, oh, we should like meet up when you come. And then I ended up moving here, and one day we're at the gym, and I thought I saw her at my gym, but I didn't wear my glasses to the gym at that point. So I messaged her and I said like, I think were you at my gym today? It wasn't her, but that kind of opened the door for conversation. And yeah, she's now my best friend. So her name's Priyanka. I'll put her Instagram handle on the screen. But yeah, she's very beautiful, and I feel very, very lucky and very blessed to have her in my life. And I just feel so thankful that she decided to reply back to my messages at that time, even though it might have been a little bit creepy because I kind of tracked her down to be a friend. So having local friends as well. So when I say local, I mean like people born in India or grew up here, because they're also really good to give me different perspectives. So sometimes if like Sunil and I have had an argument about something, I can say to her, hey, this was the situation. And she's really honest with me. She'll be like, you're in the wrong here. Or like, yeah, like this is normal for India, or this is a normal thing. Or like, you know, she'll also like give me validation when, you know, I need it or I want it. So yeah, it's really, really useful to have both expat and local friends. Just, you know, just for, I wouldn't say different reasons, but yeah, it's just really useful to have a good variety of both. Number 5 on my list is video and voice calls with family and friends. So thank God for technology, because I really don't know how I would have like handled moving this far away if I had to like write letters that took like months across the sea to get home. So yeah, I think that's obviously a huge like way I've adapted, because I could just catch up with my family and friends, and you know, it just feels like we're just catching up like normal. So I've been able to talk to so many of my different friends, all of my family. Now I have YouTube, I can update all of my family and the different, you know, who live all around the world. And you know, we've got Facebook Messenger, the iMessage or FaceTime available, WhatsApp, so many different methods of communicating. My gran is 96 years old and she lives in an assisted living facility, and I can actually schedule a video call with their reception, and they take an iPad to her at the appointment time and give her the iPad so that I can video call her. And I think that is so cool that, I mean, she doesn't really recognize me a lot of the time, but the fact that I can call her and see her and she can see me, and we're more than 10,000 kilometers away from each other. So being able to do that regularly just helps me feel a little less homesick. Sometimes it makes me feel more homesick when there's maybe special occasions on, or you know, things that I'm not at home for. But at the same time, it also helps me feel like I'm there and I'm still a part of everything. And finally, number 6 on the list, which I think is probably the most important and something that I've really been making more of an effort of doing over the past 2 years since I was diagnosed with BPD, is looking after my mental health. I already suffered from anxiety before I moved to India. It's something that I kind of just managed if it came up. I was seeing a psychologist on and off in Australia. I didn't really do anything about like how I was feeling the last few years before I moved to India. Like looking back, I definitely had a lot of BPD traits, which I kind of just put down as my personality, and that's just how I was. Those are those kind of like traits that I'm trying to work on now, on trying to improve so that I can become a better person. But when I moved here, my mental health just really went out of whack. And yeah, I definitely needed to look after myself, because I wasn't looking after my mental health. I was becoming not a very nice person, and because of that, it was impacting a lot of people around me. So because I'm focusing on my mental health, it's helping me become a better person, and I can become a better person for myself, and that reflects in my relationships with other people. I have been lucky because I've had a lot of really, really positive support from my husband and my in-laws, and especially with my providers too. So I have been very lucky. So looking after my mental health has been one of the most important things that I've done, and I'm still working on. It's basically going to be a lifelong journey, but it's completely worth it. That is it from me. If you made it this far, again, thank you so much for watching. Next week I will be doing my video about Manali, so stay tuned for that. If you have any questions about any of the points that I've talked about, or if you want to share your experiences, please let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and obviously YouTube. So thank you again, have a good night, and I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye.